At a time of crisis, we want to look back into ourselves to see the gifts and abilities that we have. If we can turn them into a money-making machine. Some of us are born with different gifts, including the gifts to speak. The big question we want to have today, and we're going to have a conversation with Ethan Musolini, is how can we turn our gifts into a career where we can be able to earn a living from. For those with the gift to speak, we have a book here for you, Public Speaking Secrets Exposed, authored by Ethan Musolini, the Merchant of Success. Now, this book is to help you perfect your public speaking skills. You have a dream to be one of the greatest in this field. We request that you make an order for this book, and later on we shall be giving you the details on where to find them and how you can make an order. The title of the book is Public Speaking Secrets Exposed. Ethan Musolini has written not only one, the second book here is Confidence and Self-Esteem Secrets Exposed. And one of the reasons why we can't get out there and be at the top of our game in our career, in our profession, and in every areas of our life is because we lack the confidence to do it. But here is confidence and self-esteem. Secrets Exposed, a book that is talking about how can we get out of our low self-esteem and hit it and succeed. This is another book, Wisdom and Success Quotes. The third book, and is also to get us inspired and motivated to do that which we believe God has created us for. Order for these books. The fourth book I want to talk about is Get Motivated in 30 Seconds or Less. Now, all these books are to help us get at the top of our game, to get better in whatever we are doing and we have planned to do. Ethan Musolini is the CEO of Success Africa, is a human resource consultant, is a success coach, a motivational speaker. This gentleman has consulted for companies like Barclays Bank, British Council, DFCU, MTN Uganda, and so many more. And he has traveled to the US, to Africa and the UK, delivering electrifying speeches. So in this conversation, we are going to have a conversation surrounding career. Now for you who plans to start a career, I think this conversation is yours. At this moment in time, I want us to welcome Ethan Musolini to this episode of One-on-One with Ethan Musolini. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. How are you, Innocent?
I'm okay, sir.
Good.
Very well.
Fantastic.
Nice to have you. Tonight, we just want to have a conversation. We want to rotate our conversation around career.
Yes.
And for someone listening to the word career for the very first time, how would you define career for someone like Levi, who wrote career for the very first time?
Now, one time I was checking the root word of careers. You know, the word is carus, C-A-R-R-U-S, and then it evolved to carriere. Hopefully that's the pronunciation, Italian and French. And that was, carus, it was like a wheel. Originally that's what it was. And then carriere, then later to mean a course, one's course in life, or professional life, personal and professional life. So it's one's course. When we say career, it's, well, how are you occupying your life mainly, whether personal or professional? And that's what a career really is.
I used to think a career and the profession, like a career is something you do away from your profession, my own understanding.
Well, sometimes it's used interchangeably. Okay. Now, when I hear the word profession, it's even without searching what's the origin of the word profession, so a professional means you're performing at the highest level possible. That's the idea of what a professional is, meaning you're following certain standards. So it's true when we say profession, then it means you're following certain standards. There are certain set standards. and you have to perform according to those standards. That's why sometimes you say, okay, that guy is not a professional. So now when you look at, say, the profession, there are different meanings. But in the dictionary, for example, you say profession is something that you do. It's like a paid occupation, and that is after prolonged training. There's the word prolonged training. So the assumption is that you have the skill set to do that. You're following certain standards, certain ways of behavior. So that's what a profession is. So, and in French, there is what they call profession, even though I'm not very fluent in French. Profession. So, but then it means you profess publicly that this is what I'm doing. So meaning that's what you're known in public for, what you're doing. But also when you look at the actual dictionary definition, then it's presumed you've gone through a prolonged training. So that's why you hear someone say, that one is a professional photographer. Meaning they have gone through training. Now, we have many photographers, but we have very few professional photographers, meaning they went through rigorous training. You can have a career as a photographer, but you may not be a professional photographer. Okay? So just take note of that distinction. So I believe that's the difference. So even though we sometimes mix it up, so you're right, and it's good you've raised it up. To be a professional means you are performing at a certain level. Yes. I'm a soccer fan. So, I mean, we have so many soccer players, but we have very few professional soccer players. Yes. They go through training, they are paid for it, there are certain standards expected and all that. So I hope that makes sense.
It does. Do you think profession has something to do with formal education? Are the two related? Does career have anything to do with skills and talent naturally born? If I am born with a nice voice, can I turn my music ability into a career that I will earn from without necessarily going to school for a particular kind of training? Or vis-a-vis this one where I'm saying I am going to become a doctor, I'm a professional doctor, but I went through a process of education. Does profession have anything to do with this formal system of education? Does a career have anything to just do with naturally gifted talent and skill?
Okay, so you've asked so many questions in one go. So all I can say is that a career, sometimes, again, like I've mentioned, sometimes we use the two words interchangeably. So, but let me also clarify one thing. You can have gifts and talents and not necessarily turn them into a career, and not necessarily turn them into a profession. So you can indeed have gifts and talents and have a career around that. And you may not raise that to a professional level. Now, a gift or a talent becomes a strength after you've invested to skill yourself in that aspect. Then it becomes a strength. Okay. And then after that, we can say, okay, let's assume, you use the word medicine, medical doctor. Yes. Depending on where you are born, from a humble background, even though I was born in a trading center, I have a relationship in the village and all that, I'm from a very humble background. So there are people who were really gifted in healing. So you look at herbs or you say, oh, my head or my stomach, then they know which herb to go and give you. So I believe we could say that, and there are people who have earned an income over the years, so we can say they have a career as herbalists, in my view. Yes. Again, this is just not, it's not audited per profession, depending on which standards you follow. So you could say someone has a career as a herbalist to heal people, because there are people who do that in the villages.
Yes, I know some of them.
You know some of them? Good. And you look like you have used some of the herbs yourself anyhow. That's why you're strong. My grandmother used to give me omuluruza. I don't know what omuluruza is in English, but it's a certain herb, and it's very bitter. So we would take it every morning, literally, and we would never get sick. So I believe hubs, and I'm glad that as a country we are getting into professionalizing that. So back to the point. So there are herbalists who have created a career to treat people using herbs. And for me, that's perfectly fine, and I believe has to be acknowledged and celebrated. Now, would we call such a person a medical doctor? No. Why? They have not gone to medical school. For someone to become a medical doctor or a medical professional, they have to go through a certain training, formal training. For me, that's the distinction. And even amongst the doctors, I believe there are those who are gifted in the healing arts, meaning they can see. That's why you hear people say, when you go, that doctor heals. That doctor, people, they don't heal, they die and all that. So I believe people who have a gift, like there is that extra thing they are able to sense and notice. So you can have a gift and talent and then upgrade to get a profession, to get skill set. Just like I I have a gift in communication or speaking, but I've gone through formal training to know how to structure a speech, for example, how to deliver it and all that stuff, which my father did not have, but yet he was gifted and he had a public career.
Your journey of career, you just spoke about public speaking. How hard and difficult was it stepping from the day that you're deciding, say, no, I have to make my speaking ability into a career? How difficult was it to start that journey?
It's a good question. I don't remember someone asking me specifically using those words, difficult. Indeed, it was challenging, difficult. And all I can say is every person you see who has been in a certain career or profession for many years, it looks glamorous on the outside. But when you go behind the scenes, I'm yet to find someone say, it was so easy. It's extremely rare. So for me, especially turning whatever you know into cash, into tangible cash. So first of all, going back, I discovered I had a gift in speaking when I was the age of 17. I was in senior 5. Okay. There was a debate competition way back in 1994. That should give you an idea of how young or how old
I was born. That's the year I was born.
That's the year you were born. Okay. So the year you were born is when I discovered I had a gift in speaking. There was something called Constituent Assembly debate. Okay. And it was at a national level, the way we have members of parliament. We had representatives from different constituencies to discuss the then 1962 constitution to usher in what we have as a 1995 constitution. So there was a recommendation which I got to know that was actually by David Procol, that let children also have a voice in the constitution. So each district had to send 2 representatives, the best guy and the best lady. So I participated in the debate competition at a school level, then district level, which is in Barra district, and I ended up being the best boy, the best guy, and there was a best lady from Mary Hill High School called Faith Kabagenyi, and I was like, what up? By the way, I had extremely low confidence and self-esteem because growing up, I all had things like, you're stupid, you're foolish, you'll never make it. Like, not just me, but all the siblings. I had very low confidence and self-esteem. And I believe that's one of the biggest needs we have in this world, especially in this country. That's why I ended up writing that book, Confidence and Self-Esteem, Secrets Exposed. So anyhow, back to the story. So when I discovered I could speak, innocent, like my confidence shot through like 100 times because now I had something to hold on to. So what I usually advise people is find out what your gift or talent is. Okay. That is your gift. That is the key. That's what does the Bible say? That where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. Yes. So I believe your gift or talent, that's part of your heart. That's part of your makeup. So when you say heart, it's not the physical heart. It's about your makeup and your DNA. So for me, I discovered that I had a gift in speaking. And that opened up so many possibilities. The first one was it boosted my confidence and self-esteem. So I always tell people, first find out what your gift or talent is, because once you know what it is, then you have something to hold on to. Growing up, I didn't have something to hold on to. I wasn't rich. I had tattered clothes, would not have grab for break tea. I was skinny, I wasn't sexy, I didn't have muscles like Innocent before me. I had so many things against me. But now, all of a sudden, apart from academics, actually academics I was doing well. But then, for me, speaking like opened a whole new world for me. I was like, oh, I can speak, meaning I had an identity. So when you hear people lacking confidence, it's because they are lacking identity. One time we were discussing about it. They are lacking identity. So once you have an identity, it gives you something to hang on to. So for me, that was massive, and I mean massive, and I'll tell you how it opened up doors for me. So I discovered it then, and then from then on, not only did it give me confidence, now it boosted my brand. Now I was very visible at school. People are calling me CS. So now, whichever post I would campaign for, they would just
what does CS stand for? What?
Constituent Assemblies. Okay. Thanks for asking. They always say honorable. We're saying Constituent Assembly delegate. Okay. CA delegate. You say CA delegate the way you have Honorable Member of Parliament, yes. Okay? So then we say Constituent Assembly delegate. So I was a delegate from my district. So now I was elevated to a national level, and boom. So now at school, I was the big boy, okay? And now I got into leadership positions and all this stuff. Then shortly after that, unfortunately, my father passed on, and friends contributed money for me to finish A-levels. By God's grace, made it to Makerere University on government sponsorship. Very grateful. Great. But at the university, I made myself very visible. Through what? Speaking. So debates, there are strikes, they are speaking, sharing my own thoughts and feelings. Then I don't know who saw me, and I was recommended to represent the country. Okay. As a 20-year-old. That was 1997. You've heard of CHOGM? The CHOGM we had here. Yes. So the CHOGM equivalent happened in 10 years prior. Okay. I attended the CHOGM. Okay. So during that CHOGM, Commonwealth Heads of State, some of us who may not know, is that all those countries which were under the British rule, they meet, and this time around they were in Scotland. Okay. I told you I'm from a very humble background, very poor background. My father was a P2 graduate. I've been a victim of jiggers, bed bugs, poor confidence and self-esteem. Innocent, here I am.
Every bad thing.
Hey, you are. I wouldn't say every bad thing, but I had many challenges. Because I've also, later by the way, I discovered that there are people who have had even much more worse situations. I guess. So I wouldn't say every bad thing. Okay. So I believe I was also lucky in a way, because now looking at my life. So anyhow, just from that background, just to, again, through the power of speaking, and boom, now I'm representing the country.
In Scotland?
Scotland. Boarded British Airways, first class. British Airways was one of the sponsors. Yes. So I have to give them kudos many years later. Thank you, British Airways, for giving me a first class ticket.
Your first experience with the plane?
And the plane. So from a bicycle to an aeroplane, that was a massive, but not even an aeroplane, first class. Okay, those of people who have traveled in the plane, they know what the difference is between economy and first class. It's huge, massive. So, but not only that, I met Prince Charles on table number 17. I'll never forget the table number. And we were seated across, just the way we are here. There was a table there. And then it reminded me of the verse in the Bible that you see a man skilled in his craft who serve before kings. Yes. For me, I experienced it directly, because now he was a prince, now he's king. So then in 98, I was seated in church. So that was 97. Then 98, I was seated in church. Someone was preaching about never giving up. The late Dr. Gerard Serwaji was my first mentor. I said, can you mentor me? He said, yes. So anyhow, I was talking about never giving up. And I felt like God telling me, that's what we need in Africa. Someone who can give people hope. And I also felt in my spirit telling me to go ask him to mentor me. Luckily, he said yes. And by the way, he passed on. God bless his soul. He was an incredible gentleman. He was a pastor and a businessman and an academic. He really impacted so many lives, especially young men, including my life. Right. So I said, can you mentor me? He said yes. So he's the one who taught me things like time management and all this stuff, setting goals. He introduced me to a book titled Think Big by Ben Carson. And it really impacted me big time. And one of the biggest impact moments was the story around how his mother encouraged him to always go to the library to read. So in my head, I was like, oh, if I'm to transform my life, I need to read. So I would get pocket money of, let's say, 50,000 from my uncles, and I would go to Aristoc, spend 30,000 on a book, and use the other 20,000 to feed on, and that would mean not eating healthy. That sometimes it would mean taking dry tea with bread, because I spent my money on a book. So, and I would wake up sometimes even at 3 a.m. to read books. So for me, that was a massive, massive impact. So anyhow, so during that season, I discovered, okay, I have a gift in speaking. And at campus, I discovered I had a gift in encouraging people. Okay. I said, oh, that should make it a motivational speaker. So I started calling myself a motivational speaker many, many years ago. That is way back in '98, when I was still a university student in my second year. And then later, I was like, okay, motivational speaker. Then I got to know that one of the ways to grow as a motivational speaker, you need to look for audiences. So I started giving talks. So there used to be a program called Prime Time, I believe. Yes, it's still running at Makerere University and Makerere Community Church. So I used to go there and speak. There was a gentleman called Fred Chosimire. So we used to call ourselves Dream Power Masters. So we had a slot for 5 minutes. So we'd do poetry and motivational stuff. And for me, that was foundational in that now I knew I had an audience. So I started speaking there. Then I was like, okay, now I need to go outside the university. So I would go to, shortly after I had graduated, I said I would go and say, okay, I'm willing to speak to your staff for free. And guess what? I would get chased. Because when you don't have a name, what I discovered is just because what you have to offer is for free, don't think that people will take it. There has to be value attached to it. And I hadn't demonstrated myself enough as a valuable person. So I would offer, free talks. And I would not.
These you're approaching companies and organizations.
Yes, saying I'm willing to speak to your staff for free. You don't have to pay me anything. Then in future, if you ever want, I was looking at it as a marketing strategy. Yes. But guess what? I wasn't given a chance. Looking back, I was like, wow. So
like, who is this young man?
Yeah, like, who is this young man? Then during that same season, there was the Leadership Institute was being started by Tony Leonard is from Australia. God bless his heart. They had an office at Buganda Road. So I got to know they had a library about Tony Robbins. I was already exposed to Tony Robbins. They had some tapes we had to listen to, Unlimited Power. I'd bought some books of Tony Robbins, like Unlimited Power, Awaken the Giant Within, some of the money I was telling you about that I would spend. So I went there. Then, because I had some speaking skills, I remember Tony Leonard giving me a chance. Say, okay, you listen to these tapes. Why don't you summarize them and speak to these people? So I remember doing that. So he opened an opportunity for me. So I said, you know what? Why don't you? So I noticed I was enjoying this, and I want to circle back to your question of career. So I said, I love this. I love speaking to people. I love encouraging people. How can I turn this into money? How can I create a career out of this? Not profession, a career out of this. Say, okay, you have to find a way to market yourself. So that's how I started looking for opportunities where can I speak for free. So then I got, so I got opportunities later to go to the US to do internships. Okay. Julius Muchunguzi, who is now the PRO as of this recording, the PRO of the Electoral Commission, Uganda Electoral Commission, recommended me to do an internship in the US, Family Research Council. Then I got other opportunities. That was in Washington, D.C., got other opportunities, applied for other opportunities in Arlington, Virginia, the Leadership Institute, then went to New York, World Youth Alliance, and I was even at the UN for about 5 months, campaigning for youth rights and all that stuff. Came back 2002. That was between 2000 and 2002. Came back 2002. Now I was at the Leadership Institute working as a volunteer. Okay. Again, because now I knew, because remember the Uganda Road experience when I had just finished the university. So I knew, okay, these guys are doing something that I want to get into. So I was volunteering, then later they took me on as a staff member, then later grew up to the level of deputy country director. But I was training, I was learning, doing the best that I could. I was doing workshops. I remember even one time I had the workshop which had 2 people, but I was speaking like I had 2,000 people there. And yeah, that's what a professional does, by the way. You do your best regardless. That's the other lesson. Because we're talking about career and profession. A professional, you do your best regardless. You don't hold anything back. So then shortly after that, not before that, I remember when I was, then one of the workshops, someone saw me and said, okay, can you coach me? You mentor me about personal and career development. I developed some materials while in the US that I developed a module of 5 modules, and this lady comes to me and it's like, can you coach me? I said, yeah. And said, how much? I said, 600,000 for 4 sessions.
Which year was that?
2003. That's 22 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, 22 years ago as of this recording, which was a lot of money then, 600,000. I said, okay, what if I have my 2 other colleagues, if I mobilize, can you reduce? I said, yeah. So we agreed 1,050,000, meaning 350,000 per person. Okay. And I didn't have even enough money to do the printing of the materials. You know, we would put materials on a floppy disks then. It's only people who are older who understand what a floppy disk is. I borrowed money from my best friend, Joseph Beyanga, 20,000 to do printing of materials. Then I told them, make sure you come with your money because I want people who are serious. But truthfully, it's because I knew I was running on empty. I needed cash, okay? So I knew that money was enough for me to print out materials, get into hire special hire. It could not arrive there walking. And then buy juice also for me and my, so we met at Fang Fang in Nakasero. So by the time they came, I found my files there. I had my suit from Owino Market, but very sharp, you know, well ironed, you know, everything was second hand apart from the underwear. I was very smart, okay? And I coached them and they got lots of value. I will never forget again, Dr. Christine Navidio, if you're watching, so I appreciate that opportunity. So for me, that opened up a door for me. I was like, okay, so this I can create. So in business, there is what they call proof of concept. For me, I just didn't need many proofs. For me, one payment was enough. I'm like, let's go, baby. And then, and then I was like, okay, so now this is going to be my line of business. So that I was like, okay, so I can coach people. I have materials that I can coach people in. Then I was like, I hadn't gotten a crack around motivational speaking. So I decided to place an advert in New Vision. Okay. They have those classified adverts. So I put there an advert, said, motivational speaker, call. This is way back 2003. Motivational speaker, call. I believe it must have been something. Do you want a motivational speaker? Question mark. Call 077, my phone number. I got 2 phone calls from that whole advert.
After how long?
So I don't remember how long, but you know, when you get 2 phone calls from a whole advert in a national newspaper. But here is the classic. Here's something I'll never forget. The first phone call was from a gentleman who was speaking to me in Uganda. Hello? I'm like, hello. Kati sebo ogw'omuzindaalo gutuuka abantu bameka. Now, those of you who don't understand Luganda is like, sir, so that public address system speaker, how many people can it project to? The reason he was asking that is there was no awareness of the industry of motivational speaking. So that's how green it was. I believe I'm the grandfather in
fact, that was
Uganda.
my next question.
That was the first call. The second call was from a lady called Juliet Hiriru. I'll never forget her name. So for her, she was into network marketing companies. For them, they were already exposed to the concept of motivational speaking. So like, okay, how much do you charge? And it's like, can you come and speak to my team? And she paid me 100,000 to go speak to her team. And I was like, what a proof of concept. I can speak. I can earn money from speaking. So remember the advert, I believe it must have been around 22,000 or thereabouts. And so I was paid 100,000 from a business perspective. Possibly my expenses must have been less than 10,000 to get there. So a profit of 70K is good business.
True.
So I was worried. So then from then on, then she opened up so many opportunities for me, kept calling me, and then now my name started expanding from there.
Your network began to broaden.
But for me, there are two ladies, and it's amazing. So coaching, Dr. Christine Navidio opened that door for me, trusted me enough. Without asking me, do you have any other, who are the people that you've coached and that sort of thing.
Show me credentials.
Show me your credentials.
The evidence of your work.
Yes. The other one was Juliet Hirire. God bless her soul. She passed on also. So, which I've never reflected upon. And as I'm thinking about it, sometimes what people need is an opportunity just to give people a chance. Sometimes you just never know what that might mean for them. And I believe looking back, because sometimes I just listen to people's stories and I just follow my gut instincts and say, okay, give this person an opportunity. Because I believe now, I thought I was just being a nice person, but now looking back, most likely it's also partly because someone else also gave me an opportunity. Dr. Gerard Serwaja, I never paid him a single coin. He started helping me, advising me, coaching me, and sometimes he would buy food for me like I was crazy. And then Dr. Christine Navidio trusted me, gave me a chance to coach her. Juliet Hiriro gave me a chance to speak. So that's how I launched my career. Now coming full circle, what's the most difficult challenge? Because now I remembered your question.
Yes.
What was the most difficult part? The most difficult part was really knowing that I have something of value to offer, and I even offer it for free, and then people refuse. How challenging is that? You prepare yourself. You say, I'm willing to put in my money, my energy, my resources, my skill set for free, and people still say no. That was tough.
And you have seen the value of what you have.
Yes.
And but people are not seeing the value in your perspective.
Yes, exactly. And it's good you are raising that question of value. Just because you're seeing value doesn't mean the other people are seeing the value. Now, this is where sales and marketing comes in.
Okay. That's
why I always recommend to master the skill of sales and marketing. So because sales and marketing is really about making people see the value, to say, look, the money you're giving me is much less compared to the value you're going to get. So the other biggest challenge was really about people who are closest to me not believing in what I was after. This is what I mean. One of my guardians, I went to him. By then I was sleeping in a place called Wakayembe Students Hostel with my best friend Joseph Beyanga, who were paying 100,000, meaning each one of us had to contribute 50,000. 50, yes. So here I am talking about self-employed motivational speakers. So I went to my guardian and said, can you please lend me 50,000 to help me pay for my rent? So he was kind enough to give me the money. And then when he was giving me the money, he said, why don't you get a real job? When sometimes doubts come in, you're like, okay. You're like, okay, this is my calling. At least I knew this was my calling and purpose. But then now, here I am, I can't even pay for my rent. 50,000 shillings. Fine, you might say it was many years ago and it was expensive, but still it's 50,000 for crying out loud. It wasn't so much money, regardless. So for me, what was most difficult is knowing this is something I'm called to do. I really want to do it. This is my passion. But then I'm struggling to even take care of myself. But how can you take care of yourself? How can you take care of others when you can? How can you go ahead to motivate people when you're even failing to?
When yourself, you need motivation.
Yeah. But by God's grace, hung in there, and doors opened for me. And so that was the most difficult. But also the turning point was during that same season, someone offered me an opportunity and I said no. They were going to give an opportunity worth 2.5 million shillings to be a full-time employee in one of the telecom companies. I said no because I knew I wanted to do this.
2.5
million Uganda shillings.
By which year was that?
2000 and then that was, it must have been 2004. 2004. And around 2004, yes.
And you turned it down.
And I turned it down. Yeah, but because I believe, and I turned it down because, I turned that opportunity down because I believed that this was my calling. But you know what happened next is there was an opportunity that opened up at British Council. They wanted a training consultant. I applied. By the way, there are two opportunities. One, to become a participant on a leadership program, and the other opportunity was to become a training consultant. So the friend who was selling that opportunity for me said, oh, you can apply to participate in this leadership program by British Council. But when I got there, I don't know what got into me. I really believe it was God. It was God's Spirit. I said, why not apply to become a consultant? So I applied to become a consultant, competed with people who were much more experienced than me, and I got the opportunity as a training consultant, and that changed my life. Financially, profession-wise, that's how I ended up in so many countries across the continent.
So in amidst the challenges and all the things you faced, the rejection, guys not believing in you, the struggles you had, what kept you moving and what keeps you moving until now?
That's a great question. I have a great friend of mine called Joseph Okia. He's a medical doctor. He works in government now. And he exposed me to a book by the late Dr. Miles Monroe. It's called In Pursuit of Purpose. Now, purpose is, I discovered that everyone on planet Earth has a reason for being here on this earth. And for me, at that time, I knew that my purpose was around inspiring and encouraging people. So in my heart of hearts, I never doubted that that's what I was meant to do. Like I knew it from my core, that this is me, it is my calling, it's in alignment with my gifts and talents. I love this, I'm passionate about that. So for me, I knew that that was my thing. That's one. Two, of course, is God, most crucially. I knew that God placed me on planet Earth to really inspire people, motivate people, skill them, empower them. Because looking back, my father wanted me to become a medical doctor or an engineer. Unfortunately, I did not excel in sciences, so I told my dad, I said, can you please allow me to do arts? And luckily he did. So looking back, I was like, this is me, because like I would have been the most stressed out medical doctor or engineer if my father had forced me in that space. So for me, what kept me going is really twofold. Number one, of course, God, praying and seeking divine guidance. I recall one time I didn't have an opportunity. I remember writing a letter to God. That's another trick, by the way, that I rarely teach. You can write a letter to God and say, I'm going through this, please send me answers around this. Number two was the conviction and knowledge that this was my calling. But remember, part of the path started when I was in senior 5, knowing that I had a gift. So I knew that this was in alignment with my gifts and talents. And yeah, so for me, I'm fully convinced. And running full circle many years later, just this year, someone asked me, said, are you still doing that thing of motivating and inspiring people? I said, yes. I said, look, you can only retire from a job. You can never retire from a calling. So for me, I knew this was my calling, and that I knew that if I stay on the path, provision will come. And it did. In spite of the ups and downs. Even right now, it's not like it is a smooth road, but I know from my heart of hearts that I am on the right path.
There's a statement you made about you being the grandfather
Yes.
of this industry.
Yes. In Uganda.
In Uganda.
Yeah.
Which I believe is true. I want you to just share with us how it feels like to be a pioneer of something in a particular area, that this is something that has never been done in this local. Maybe someone has thought about it, but it has never been done. And everyone has, it is still like something so green, something like when you talk to people about it, like the gentleman who called you and was asking about the speakers and the rest. If you could take us through that journey, how was the clearing of the bush like? How was the feeling like, you pioneering something for the very first time? And making people know that public speaking or motivational speaking is of paramount importance to society.
So first of all, I have to give credit where credit is due. It's God's grace, because think about it. All these great ideas or energy or opportunity, it's God who opens up these things for us. So, and the older I get these days, when people ask me, how are you? I say, my first words, I am, by God's grace, I'm well. Because the older I get, the more I read and understand, even the heartbeat alone, it's God. So it's God's grace. So that's one. So I'm very thankful to God. Two, it is also to heeding the call, listening to the call. I believe that when God gives us an idea, it doesn't give an idea to just one person. It gives you an idea. If you don't respond, gives it to John. If John doesn't respond, gives it to Rocho. That's why have you ever had people say, I had that idea, or I thought about that. Yes, you thought about that, but you didn't execute. So I'm grateful that I executed on it. I have had many, many weaknesses. I've made many mistakes. But at least the one thing I'm proud of is that I knew I had a gift or talent. I had an inspiration to work on it, and I followed through on it. And how is the feeling? Again, extremely tough, like I've told you. I mean, you put money in for an advert, and someone's asking you, the speaker or people, like the rejection and all that. So for me, it's the clearing. Actually, people who come later are the ones who benefit the most, because then the road is much smoother. Then the road is much smoother. So for me, I always have maximum respect for pioneers, because then you have so many bruises, many struggles, you're called weird, like motivational. What's that? You're calling it like, what's that? How does that work?
You think you're going to earn anything like it?
Yeah, talking about earning anything. Actually, when I was doing my internship in Arlington, Virginia, one of the ladies, this is what she told me, said, you're spending money on things that you want to become a motivational speaker and all that. No one is going to pay you to become a motivational speaker. You look at you. I mean, you should spend that money. We're getting a stipend on allowance. You should spend that money to eat food and put flesh on your bones. Oh, Lord. So you're talking about, so now listening to that, and then in my head, but again, you're asking what took me through, but at least knowing, again, that's the value of purpose. Once you know your purpose, once you know who you are, the identity I talked about.
Yes.
So for me, I knew that this is who I am. I just need to be patient. I need to work on it. And that's another lesson that I like sharing with young people. You have to be patient, whatever it is. So I knew that if I'm on the right path and I work on it and I improve my skill set, my abilities, then it was just a matter of time for me to finally emerge.
Yeah,
I don't know whether that answers your question.
It does. All right, as we come and we are winding up with our interaction today, listening to your story, but I also want to ask, what would be the direct advice you'll give a young man and a young woman out there who believes, let's say, for example, I believe that I have this gift. I have this ability to do this and this. Now I want to turn it into something.
Yeah.
And the people around me, their words and everything about them, their energy keeps bringing me down. And I look around and I'm like, which button do I press next? Where do I run to? And then I'm at almost the verge of giving up and saying, why don't I just do something and go on with what people are saying?
Yeah.
Based on your own experience, what advice would you give me?
So that's a fantastic question. That's an amazing question, Innocent. And I meet so many of those. So there are two ways to look at it.
Okay.
Number one, if you're young or old, if it's your calling, my belief is where there is vision, if God has given you a vision, the provision will come. But it has to be divine vision. Okay. You have to double check, is this vision really from God? Or it is just an egoistic thing. Because there are people say, if you can do this, I can also do it. After all, I was beating you in school, so what can't I do?
True.
No, it's not about what can't you do. It's about what are you called to do. We can do many things, but is that what you're called to do? So for me, if you feel from your heart of hearts that that's your calling, do not give up. Just keep going. But then there are some certain realities that we have to be aware of. It's okay to go do something on the side which earns an income. For me, looking at myself, I was very lucky in that I discovered what I wanted to do much, much earlier. Not everyone is as lucky as I was. I'm really super lucky. So if you find, for example, you're doing accounting, but you know your gift is in singing and you want to pursue a job in singing, my suggestion is don't just resign your accounting job and say, no, I'm just jumping into accounting. No. Of course, if you have saved monies that can take you for the next 3 to 5 years, fine, you can jump out. But if not, this is what I recommend. It's what I always recommend. Stay on your current job that pays the bills. Okay. Then use the other free time to work on your craft, to create networks, to learn, go for that extra course, find mentors, find coaches, invest some of that money in that skill set and career that you want to develop. Because then over time, what some people call a side hustle, you can turn your passion into a side hustle. Okay. You find a way to turn this, so you work on your craft, and you're asking me, what if people are discouraging you? Find ways as much as possible to stay away from them, to listen to them, and switch conversations. They could be, but by the way, then you can ask a question, because there are people you cannot run away from. For example, you could be at home. Yeah. These are your parents. You can't run away from them. So what do? If you're chatting, you can find a way to distract them and say, oh, by the way, there's this other thing I talked about farming. When are we going to the farm? So you distract them. That's one. 2, read books. Access content online. In this day and age, which wasn't the case when we were starting, there's YouTube. It's the largest university in the world. So you have access to everything. I mean, so utilize your time. The challenge is, I see some people, they say, I want to work, I want to become this. But then the free time they have, they are watching TikTok, they're on TikTok, they are watching stuff aimlessly. A
lot of comedies, unnecessary, whatever.
And you're consuming, so you're just letting someone to determine what. I'm saying, consume consciously. When I was still in my early 20s, one of the statements I had from Les Brown that really stuck in my mind is one of the personalities that kept me going during that period. He said that his mentor told him that if you treat your life casually, you'll become a casualty. And I see many people treating their lives casually. So in the same way, if you treat your career or profession casually, if you treat your gifts or talents casually, then you become a casualty. I'm gifted in communications and speaking and all this stuff. But guess what? I spend money every month to become better, to become a better communicator, to become better at sales, to become better at marketing, to become a better human being, to work on my attitude and mindset and all this. Every month, Innocent, never passes without me investing money. A lot of money, by the way. Don't ask me how much. But just know it's a lot of money that the money that I've spent over the years could put up a massive, massive mansion. That I know for a fact. But so keep investing in yourself. And then the other thing I always recommend people is, rather than you starting your own thing, go find someone who has already started that thing. Go offer your talents, your time, your gifts, your energy for free. Don't ask for pay. And then when you go there, work like you're paid $10,000 a month. That's around 36 million Uganda shillings as of this recording. Work like, and then learn, ask questions. Then through that, you'll know the industry inside out. What works, what doesn't work, how much do you charge? Why am I saying this? Because I didn't have someone to refer to. It is tough. It's like you're swimming in the dark. You don't know how to charge, you don't know when to charge, you don't know how to market, you don't know how to speak, you don't know how to hire, you don't know how to manage. It's tough. That's why I'm always telling people, not everyone is cut out to be self-employed. Not everyone is cut out to do a business. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't start things by myself from scratch. No. Warren Buffett said that we learn from our mistakes, but it's much cheaper to learn from other people's mistakes. So it's very expensive to learn from your own mistakes. Go find someone who's doing what you want to do. Offer your time. But the challenge is we like this egotistic, I started my thing. Yeah, you started your thing, but at what cost? Sleepless nights, hungry stomach, on an empty stomach and all this stuff. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying is that be intelligent about it. For me, I didn't have someone tell me what I'm telling. So you might say, okay, for me, I didn't have someone to refer to in this country. But looking back, I could have written a letter to someone and said, then there was no email. I'm not sure if there was email then, possibly yes. So I could have sent an email to someone. I could have made some research, found out, okay, can I do some work for you for free to mentor me, to coach me? I didn't have someone to tell me. So that's the path I would take. So take it as a side hustle, but then also be patient. And of course, if you have a family, it's a totally different ballgame. I think I also recommend, if you're young and this is your path, take as many risks as possible. Because the moment you have a family, you have children, children don't eat passion. That one I can't guarantee. Once they want milk, they want their milk. You want to say, oh, you know what, sweetheart, I'm pursuing a passion. No, no way.
Money will come.
Money will come. The Lord will provide. No, they don't want to hear, our Lord will provide. Mommy, daddy, where is milk? They'll cry. So if you have a family, please be calculative about this. Go talk to someone, go research, engage, use your weekends, use your evenings to start working on this. Then once it starts paying or replacing your salary, then you can jump in full time. Right. That's why a long answer, but I believe it's a great question that I see most people struggle with.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ethan Musolini. I would love to get in touch with your content, you physically. Some of us would want coaching classes. Some of us would want copies of the books that are out. Some of us would want this content. Where do we find you?
That's a great question. So you can, first of all, go to my website, ethanmusolini.com. If you want to find out more about my coaching services, go to ethanmusolini.com/coaching. That's where my different coaching packages are. But I have a massive resource, which I rarely talk about, actually. It has 50 training programs. Okay. I did this over 50 days, non-stop. Every day I was doing a program. My selfish goal was that I convert this into a package that I would sell for $500 to $1,000. It was my $1 million project. So I did this, so people who would attend live, it was free, and then I was planning to sell the recordings at that price point. Then God told me, give away everything for free. So I uploaded everything on YouTube, then put the links. If you go to succeedingdaily.com, there are those trainings, 50 training programs. That's around 50 hours of training content that people can access for free. I believe the value is way, way more than $1,000. That I know for a fact because I charge a lot of money. And so the other one is go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ethan Musolini UG. You have to add the word UG. I don't know how I ended up adding the word UG, but there are over 300 videos there that people can access this content. Can get me on Twitter, x.com/Ethan Musolini. LinkedIn, just go to google.com, type in Ethan Musolini +sign LinkedIn. You get my LinkedIn page. And for human resource consulting training programs, and go to Success Africa. guys, success-africa.com, or you can send us an email, info@success-africa.com. And our office of this recording is at Impala House, 6th floor. That's where you can access books there, or even go to Aristoc. But also, follow me on social media, subscribe, and reach out to me. As of this recording, hopefully I'm available. You can go to +256 772 936361. +256 772 936361. That's my WhatsApp number that I got to recently. I hadn't been on WhatsApp for many years, so that's how people can reach out to me.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so very much for your time.
You're welcome, sir. Oh, I forgot to mention that I coach people in public speaking, executive communication skills, personal and career development, oral interview skill sets, or people have been in a job somewhere like for 5-10 years, they are thinking about transitioning. I also have a package on career transition. So yeah, so that's it. And soon we are also coming up with a program called Success Africa Wellness, where I'll be looking at things to do with mental health, fitness, nutrition, finances, because that's a cancer that is eating people day in, day out. So that's something we are working on also. God bless.
All right, thank you so much for your time. And just know that next time we are having a part 2 of this conversation until we exhaust it to its core. Thank you. I've been your host, Owinch Both Innocent. Till next time, bye.